What's good, everybody? Long time no see. And welcome to another episode of the Press Box. I'm Russ Morris, your host, and let's just dive right into it. I am currently in San Antonio, Texas, for the boys UIL basketball state championships. I'm going to cover the Turkey Valley Patriots and the reigning, defending back-to-back state champion Jayton Jaybirds as well, and it's going to be fun. There's a lot to get into here. We got a jam-packed episode because there was some major news that took place at the beginning of the week. So let's open with that first. As you see on your, of course, you see on your screen the basketball state championships, but as we get into that, the Baltimore Ravens have backed out of the Max Crosby trade. So earlier in the week, the Baltimore Ravens traded for Max Crosby, and they gave up 2 first-round picks to get him. They gave up this year's first-round pick, and they gave up the 2027 first-round pick to get Max Crosby. Now, there are several conflicting reports about what exactly happened. The main thing to know is that the Ravens got cold feet. Now, the Ravens historically they do not trade first round picks. Okay, so this was the first time they were ever going to trade a first round pick to get a player, and they value picks like nobody's business. So to see them actually go all in the way they did was kind of eye opening to say, okay, they actually are going to go all in. The GM is kind of in a spot where he made a choice to fire John Harbaugh and then just kind of run everybody else back. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. Now, they did have a contingency plan in which they signed Trey Hendrickson, so that will bolster the defense, but they still need something on the back end. I did see that they signed a safety today. I didn't catch who they signed, so forgive me for not talking about that as I was on the road, obviously here to San Antonio. But in other news, the United States advanced to the quarterfinal round in the World Baseball Classic after Italy defeated Mexico earlier today. Earlier today at the time of this recording. So, congratulations to the U.S. as they're trying to make a run to get back into the final, and hopefully we see where it happens. I hope that Paul Skeens is able to pitch the remainder of the Classic. I think it would be awesome for him. It would be a career-defining deal for him to showcase his stuff at the elite level, obviously at the world level, because let's be honest, he stuck with the Pirates until somebody oversells to get him, similar to how Garrett Cole was taken away from the Pirates. That's what's going to take for Paul Skeens. I did see that Tarek Skubal is going to rejoin the Tigers. I think it was at the end of this week, maybe. I hope he's able. I hope he still plays or he pitches the remainder of the Classic. Let's talk about Bobby Witt Jr. though. In that win against Mexico, good Lord, man, sacrificing his body, diving to make plays. Arguably one of the top 2 shortstops right now in the game. I just hate the fact that he's in Kansas City. That's the only thing. It's a franchise that historically does not. Yes, I mean, they do cycle through years and they do go after and they do make runs, but it's not a franchise that is a perennial postseason contender year in and year out. But nonetheless, it's good to see that the U.S. has guys that are out there hanging with the teams from Mexico, the Dominican, and Puerto Rico and Cuba and places like that. So this quarterfinal round, I believe, is going to be fun. So now let's go ahead and look at the state championships that are going to take place uh, Thursday. So on Thursday, as I get this ticker up here, on Thursday at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, the 1A Division 1, 1A Division 2, 2A Division 1, and 2A Division 2 boys basketball state championships are going to take place, and they're going to be live on the NFHS network. Yes, they're not going to be on Victory Plus like how the football state championships were. All of the games are going to be viewed on the NFHS network app. So that's where you can see all these. Valley, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to go in Division 1, Division 2 order when I'm going to talk about these schools. 1A Division 1 is Turkey Valley versus Fayetteville. Yes, Turkey Valley versus Fayetteville. That is the first game inside the Alamo Dome Thursday morning. Valley is the reigning state runners-up. They lost uh, to the eventual state champions, Perrin Witt. Now, Perrin Witt got eliminated earlier in this playoffs. So we will have a new state champion crowned in 1A Division 1. I like Valley just because they were in this game last year and they're looking for some revenge. Um, they have size, they have length inside the perimeter. They have guys that can jack up and shoot threes. So I look for the Valley Patriots to win their first ever state championship Thursday morning. Now we take a look at Jayton versus Kennard. This has the potential to be a game of the year, game of the weekend type of matchup, as Jayton is looking to three-peat. They are the reigning back-to-back state champions in 1A Division 2. They move up to 1A Division 1 next year, where them and Valley will be in the same district. But believe it or not, that's going to be fun to watch next year, by the way. These juniors and seniors for Jayton. Okay, if you count their success in track, if you count their success in football, if you count their success, hell, and even golf, all these kids know is success. This is the fourth in the state semifinals. That last round for this senior class, that was their fourth. Okay, that was their fourth appearance in the state semifinal. So they appeared in the state semifinal when they were freshmen, and they appeared in the state championships when they were sophomores. So think about what this junior class is doing. Okay, so not only does Jayton have a chance to three-peat as a whole, if they bring everybody back next year and they're just as good, let's say Jayton wins uh, tomorrow afternoon, uh, who's to say that in 1A Division 1 that they can't run the table and come back and try to go for four in a row, which would be pretty cool. But I do think that Jayton is going to beat Kennard. And now I'm not just saying that because I'm covering them tomorrow, but I've followed uh, these kids from the state track meet last year and just watching them from afar. Of course, I write for the Post Dispatch, but I contribute to the paper over in Spur, and then obviously the paper over in Valley. But every so often, I have looked over and I've just followed along to what Jayton has done, and that this senior class is a class of destiny, pretty much. And how I know is if you go back and watch their game against Gordon in the area around, that had no business being an area around matchup. That should have been the regional final. That was the state's number one versus the state's number two. And Jayton did not shoot the ball particularly well. And they still found a way to get in overtime. But the key was they made 73% of their free throws. The Gordon Longhorns could not make a free throw in that game to save their life. So that's going to be something to watch for in that game Thursday afternoon. Now, the evening slate of games starting at 5 is the is Panhandle making their first ever appearance in the state championship against San Augustine. This, I believe, is going to be the most intriguing matchup because Panhandle, if you look at how they have built their program over the last 2 years, their girls' athletics program has stood out from as far as what a girls' athletic program in West, uh, aside from what the Kahoma Bulldogs have done, bringing their softball team to national relevance. I mean, they're still ranked 14th in the country. The Kahoma Bulldogettes softball team is, and then the Kahoma Bulldogettes basketball team was undefeated this year, ranked second in the state of Texas. And then I could just keep going on about Kahoma, right outside of Big Spring, but Panhandle up north of Amarillo, that is what a small school athletics girls athletics program is supposed to look like. Um, I got to see those girls compete at the regional track meet last year up at West Texas A&M, and they carried 2 or 3 of their relays over to the state meet. And I got to see them compete over at Mike A. Myers Stadium as well. And all Panhandle knows is how to compete. Now they've carried that over with the boys this year. So the boys have finally got it to where their spring sports and their fall sports are starting to mesh together. And so what you're seeing a program that was built on the foundations in the spring, carried that over to the success that they've had in football. Shout out to Broxton Robinson, who is committed to play football over at Army in West Point. Um, the run that they've had is just amazing to me. Now, speaking of, Panhandle is going for something that is in rarefied air in West Texas, and that's where both boys and girls basketball teams are state champs in the same year. So, shout out to them. Uh, I know Wall in 3A. Speaking of the Lady Hawks, they won last year. They won the state championship last week. They were ranked number one wire to wire. Wall boys won it and they were the state's number one in basketball, and they fell, I believe, in the third round of the playoffs. So Wall was trying to do that this year, and they were unable to do so. So now it's up to Panhandle to see if they can get it done. Uh, Speaking of Panhandle's girls, that was no surprise to me that they went on the run that they did. They were ranked first or second. They kind of fluctuated between the top two uh, spots in the standings all year long, and obviously they won their bracket at the Caprock Classic over in Lubbock over Christmas break. So shout out to Panhandle, and then we'll end it with the top two teams in 2A, and that is the 2A Division II state championship Thursday night at 7 o'clock in the Alamo Dome. And that is Lipan versus Martins Mill. And let me tell you, if you want to watch some hard-nosed defensive basketball play in the state of Texas, get on the NFHS app Thursday night and watch Lipan versus Martins Mill. Lipan took it to Groover in the semifinal round uh, earlier this week, and they gave Groover all they could ask for. And Groover had aspirations to get to the state championship, and Lipan obviously took it to him. Now Martins Mill, uh, they have, I believe, one of the best defenses in all of 2A. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with down inside the paint. I like Martins Mill to take down Lipan. So here are my picks. Give me Turkey Valley to kick things off in the morning with a win. Give me Jayton after lunch at 1 o'clock to 3-peat. Ooh. Give me as much as I bragged about Panhandle, give me San Augustine. San Augustine has been the more proven team this year. They were ranked inside the top 25 in the Texas Association of Basketball Coaches all year long for a reason. and I think they show their muscle. Of course, we all know that in the state games, the numbers in front of those teams are that they're just numbers. So that's going to be something to watch for. Um, but still, give me San Augustine over Panhandle. And then to close it out, like I said, give me Martin's Mill over Lipan. These are the states number one versus number two from the very beginning of the season, and let the chips fall where they may. Once again, just over my right shoulder, I can see it from my hotel room. It's the state championships will be played in the Alamo Dome at the home of the UTSA Roadrunners, and also the home of the Alamo Bowl uh, on New Year's Eve weekend or whenever those bowl games are announced. So, some other news today: the Dallas Cowboys traded Osa Odigizua to the San Francisco 49ers. Not surprising there, as Matt Eberflus is on staff with he's on staff at San Francisco. So uh, Eberflus loved Odigizua from his time in Dallas, and so it frees up space for Dallas to get another to beef up more on the interior of the defensive line and go from there. Another major signing was the Chiefs signed Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker uh, to their squad. So Patrick Mahomes has a running back, has actually a bona fide running back, not a guy that can just not a specialist that you use in the passing game. They actually have a guy that can run between the tackles and actually gain yards. So that's going to be something to watch. Um, they still have the 12th pick in the draft, the Chiefs. That's going to be fun to see what Andy Reid and company do with that 12th pick because there's still some heavy pass rushers alive. Uh, David Bailey, if he falls out of the top 10, he could fall into that spot. Uh, Also, Lee Hunter from Tech. He's another one that the scouts love during the Senior Bowl participation. He is somebody that meets all the measurables. 6'3", 330. That's all you need to know. And then the big one that a lot of people have their eyes on is the Buckus Award winner, Jacob Rodriguez. And it's going to be fun to see where he goes. Uh, I think a spot like Kansas City, maybe even Dallas or Miami, would be a good place to find Jacob Rodriguez. Um, just whoever picks him up, preferably you would want a defensive minded head coach to draft a linebacker. But if you're going to allow your defense, but depending on who has it, if you've got a wizard of a defensive coordinator, take him. So be it. Another thing to watch that I've been reading, Kyler Murray was officially released by the Cardinals, and he is favored to land in Minnesota. That would be an interesting dynamic, seeing how Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy coexist. Does Kyler Murray beat out J.J. McCarthy for the quarterback position? Who knows? And then also looking at some college baseball around today. The Longhorns had them wearing. They were at Texas State for a midweek series. The Longhorns took care of Texas State in game one. Speaking of UTSA, the university I mentioned earlier, they were at Lubbock for their series against Texas Tech. UTSA won by a final score of 9-8 the other night. Now, don't let that score fool you. Okay, in the top of the sixth inning, the number 24 Roadrunners led the Red Raiders 9-2. 9-2 at Dan Law Field in Lubbock. That's all you need to know. And then, yes, they came back, but you have to be down in order to come back. So just, I don't know what to make of Tech. And I'm being honest. I have noticed that program trending in the wrong direction. They have handled the transfer portal and NIL terribly. Now, granted, all the Longhorns did was, was go out and finagle Jim Sauchnagel away from Texas A&M and just take off a fan base and pick up right where he left off at College Station. And but you see it time and time again is that UT goes after people in the transfer portal. I'll even throw Arkansas in there too. Arkansas, they don't use their Walmart NIL money for anything other than maybe basketball with Coach Calipari now, but they've done it more so than in baseball more than anything. And Tech baseball has operated like what Mike Gundy has done with Oklahoma. What Mike Gundy did for Oklahoma State for NIL, and how what Dabo Sweeney has been doing with Clemson. So Tech is starting to fall behind in the transport stuff, and I know there's rumblings about the scholarship issue. Well, you've got freshmen out there on the mound going up against fifth or 6 year seniors, and it's no wonder Tech can't compete against the teams like Arkansas, Vanderbilt, and schools like they used to in the past. They can't. It's hard to do so anymore. And then plus you add on the fact that the Big 12 as a conference is just not very good as it used to be. Like I read the other day, according to D1 Baseball, that the Big 12 is only projected to get like maybe 5 teams into the dance, and maybe 4 teams have a realistic chance at hosting a super regional or regional when it comes right down to it. I know TCU, Arizona, Arizona State were the top 3. And I know TCU is picked to win that conference. I like Arizona. I like Arizona in that conference in the Big 12. Um, it's crazy. Like the way things have flipped in the Big 12. Baylor is not as competitive as they used to be. Oklahoma State is not as competitive as they used to be. Tech has now been they went from flag bearer, compete for Big 12 championships, was in the Final Four of the 2019 College World Series, and yet they have yet to figure out how to get over the hump and try to actually get to the national championship game, or the national championship series. And then now you look over at softball, and that's where things have flipped on its head. Softball at Tech is like they're more than likely going to win the national championship. I would think it's going to be a rematch between Tech and Texas in Oklahoma City. I do think the Sooners are going to have more of a say as to what happens in that tournament this year. I would not be surprised if you see Nebraska make a run in there this year. Just saying, Nebraska's young, they're hungry, and they don't know any better. I mean, they have the 2 best wins over anybody, and that was at the time the number 1 ranked Longhorns and the number 1 ranked Red Raiders. They have the 2 best wins of anybody on the season. So do not be surprised if Nebraska makes a deep push to get to the College World Series. But if I had to bank on the matchup that we're going to see in Oklahoma City later this summer, it's going to be Texas Tech and Texas in a rematch. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So that'll do it for today's episode of the Press Box. Let me know what you think. Any of you guys in San Antonio with me this weekend? If you are, what's up? Don't hesitate to say hi. Hopefully, hope to see some of y'all here over the course of today and tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll talk about some of the 3A, 4A matchups, and also dig into what else is going on around the high school, the Texas high school sports and everything like that. Because I know we're getting closer to some more realignment talk, and that's with the rest of the spring sports, with particularly baseball and softball. So, once again, uh, get hope to see some of you guys here at San Antonio. If not, see y'all whenever I see you. Keep hope alive, everybody, and God bless.